It's Al Reynolds, and this is my new show on YouTube called The Court of Public Opinion, the place where you, the people's voice, will be heard. Now, if you're new to the courtroom, make sure you grab a seat and make sure you also grab a pen and pad. And don't forget to hit that like button. And if you are new and have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that share button as well as leave a comment because we love the engagement. Now, don't be afraid, newbies, because think of the court opinion as Nancy Grace meets Rapid Fire meets Fox Soul's Face Off. Yep, this courtroom is going to be disruptive. It's going to be messy. It's going to be some fighting and fussing. It's going to be some cutting people off. It's going to be silencing the lambs in here if it needs to be. But know this, it will always be very informative. So buckle up. I'm your host and judge, Al Reynolds, and today I have my legal beagles with me, attorney Symone Redwine, and also criminal defense attorney Brian Ross. Welcome, Symone. Welcome back, my legal beagles. Welcome back. All right, so this is the deal. Today's lineup is an update on Diddy Do It. Sean Combs is seen riding his bicycle while Christian Combs is being charged with rape and drugging. Does the apple fall far from the tree? Poor Jonathan Majors is being sentenced on April 8th, which is Monday, for messing with those snow bunnies. Now, with Megan by his side every step, has he learned his lesson? The Department of Justice says that they're going to sue the state of Utah prison after they refuse to provide trans inmate with hormone therapy. I thought the purpose of prison was to rehabilitate. Why are we spending taxpayer dollars on SRS services? All right, Bambi is back at the courthouse with Little Scrappy because Little Scrappy just won't act right. The divorce is getting more and more ugly, and he's violated, according to Bambi, his agreement by letting another woman post her kids, or their kids. Is that Erica, or does Mr. Scrappy got a new side piece? All right, Kevin Hart is also back at the courthouse because his personal assistant who works in his house with him, beside him every single day, overheard a conversation he was having with his wife about cheating. Are the walls too thin in this mansion-like house? And lastly, Nicki Minaj is having the year of her life, but her man is back in the news with an updated photo for his California sex offenders registry. Wow. All right, legal beagles and Symone, what you got going on over there?
Oh my God, I had the worst day in court ever. Okay, let me tell you something. There is nothing worse than going in front of a Caucasian judge who graduated from a Tier 4 university who makes a ruling that is against the law. Okay? If you don't know the tiers, there's only 4 of them. And when a Caucasian has to go to the Tier 4 school, it's because his daddy and his mama couldn't suck or donate enough to get him anywhere else. And it was deplorable. So I'm just saying.
All right. Well,
I need a little grace.
We want you to, settle in. Okay, yeah. Settle in. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. All right, let's start with Diddy. Diddy Do It update. What do we think about this? Like, what do we think about Diddy out in Miami, riding his bike, carefree, moving on with his life, while his son, Christian Combs, is back in Los Angeles, charged with rape and drugging?
I think, Al, that Diddy didn't listen to our previous episodes where we told him to stay on the quote unquote low. I'm not saying exercising is wrong, but you're hanging out at Pure Vita in Miami. Ever been to Miami, been to Pure Vita? It is a good place to hang.
Right.
And you're taking pictures with fans as if nothing is going on. Wrong thing to do.
Wait. He took pictures with fans, Brian?
He's taking pictures with fans. He and Stevie J. So I think that Diddy needs to, I get it. You need to get outside. You've been locked down in your mansion, tough life, and probably only got a couple of bedrooms, but you need to maintain a lower profile for just a little bit longer until your attorneys can sort this out.
Attorney Ross, I was thinking the exact same thing. In fact, I don't think that if I don't have a kid, but I have a nephew. If my nephew in all of this, especially if it was my kid, in all of the drama that's going on, being rated, and Misa already said it was excessive force. if my son or nephew at this time was being charged, right, or being, sued,
Implicated,
for drugging, I would get to my son.
Correct.
I want to be near my son. I don't want to be hanging out with Stevie J. I don't want to be taking pictures with freaking fans. I want to get to my son because now my life has now overflowed into my children's life, and I'm concerned. I'm super concerned. What say you, Attorney Redwine?
I subscribe to all of the things that Attorney Brian says, but I just said he's got to follow the instructions of his crisis manager. And I just simply cannot believe that any crisis manager would tell him, hey, go take pictures with fans, act like nothing's happened. If anything, you want to stay away from everything, or you want to act like you are stressed about the fact that these are untrue allegations that can ruin your life. That's it.
Also, these are allegations that aren't just ruining your life, it's ruining your kid's life now. It's spilling over to your legacy. And I don't see how I could be out riding a bike and taking pictures when my legacy with my son and my family is being jeopardized. My empire is crumbling. Get to your family. Get to his credit.
To his credit, he was spending time with his twin daughters on the bikes riding around. Maybe they're on spring break. It is that time of year. Maybe that's what it is.
Well,
but outside of that,
context matters. Yeah.
Outside of that, we're not taking pictures of Pure Vita on South Beach.
No.
Then it's not going to happen. That's out of the question.
Wait, were the daughters with him at the club at Pure Vita? Were they there?
No. That was a separate ride.
Okay.
No,
this is a new week. Last week he was with his daughters for spring break. This is a new week. They don't got 2 weeks unless they're in the school that we don't know about.
Back to school.
He's not out riding a bike with them this week.
Fair enough.
Right? Because all I've seen is him, hanging out with Stevie J. As far as I'm concerned, I think that he needs to listen. He was listening to us for a little while, Symone. He needs to listen to me. They need to hire me. Get your tail to California. Lay up under your kids. Don't ever be seen doing anything that does not involve your family. Your legacy is at risk.
The only thing we need to see is you walking out of a church.
Yes. Yeah, like I don't understand why Stevie J don't even have custody of his daughter. I would be the main custodian of that daughter. Immediately after last week, Jocelyn posted that picture talking about she's cocaina, Jocelyn. If you can't get custody in that situation, then you might not be okay.
Right. Or you don't need to be hanging out with him. Just like I wouldn't want R. Kelly speaking on my behalf. I don't need Stevie J with that questionable background seen with me at every step, smiling and trying to defend me. It just speaks yuck. And call me.
And Stevie J is like the only person who has been loudly defending him. And if that's your best defense, you ain't got no defense.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving here. Now, talking about no defense, the judges in the Jonathan Majors case said, no, sir. We're not throwing your case out. No, sir. We're not letting you off the hook. You may have been a big star a couple of months ago, but now you're just a regular citizen that's being charged. And now he is being sentenced because he was found guilty for messing with those snow bunnies. Now, this is the deal. This is my question, attorneys, and this is very important. What type of sentencing, because we know he's going to get it, the max is up to 1 year. What type of sentencing, Attorney Brian, are we expecting this judge to hand down on Monday?
I think he's going to get 30 days in jail, followed by the rest of the time on probation. I think he's going to have anger management and potentially alcohol or drug classes. He's going to have to write a letter of apology, amongst some other things. I don't see the judge throwing the book at him because he doesn't have priors. And a year, it would be the most excessive sanction he could get. But I do think he will get 30 days in jail.
So let me ask you this. Does that come with the ankle bracelet?
I mean, I don't know. It is New York.
Come on, jump in here, Red Wine. You think that'll come with the ankle bracelet?
I'm not exactly sure, but I would like to say this isn't necessarily coming from me. This could be from one of my play cousins and stuff. But one thing I was thinking is that with this 30 days that he might have suffered, he may or may not need to take one of his play cousins, play sisters, etc., and just bring the brakes off that girl. No. Okay, well, shake her. No, just shake her out. If it's girl on girl, it's fine. Then it's a duel. It's a duel. But what I am saying, I do want to reiterate for the audience. I want to be clear. He was never found guilty of assaulting her. What he was found guilty of was harassment because he lifted her and put her back into the vehicle. And he was found guilty of unintentionally injuring her finger when she was stealing his cell phone back to read text messages she was unauthorized to read.
But the problem is you see all the time in these domestic violence situations, when you take the phone, don't take the phone.
Right.
Taking the phone becomes a problem because it constitutes battery, because the phone is part of your body. So just leave the phone alone. Don't smack the camera. Just stand there and look at it. And me or Miss Redwine will get you out of it.
Hold on, Al, I have to ask this question has been across my mind, and I'm not that kind of criminal lawyer. My question was, Brian, why do you think, in my mind, I'm like, his attorney should have argued self-defense of my property, right? He's an actor. He could have scripts on that phone. He could have confidential information on that phone that's between him and his agent, etc. Yeah. Why didn't they argue that he was protecting his phone and the confidential data to use that as a defense? Is that not an option?
I think it's brilliant by you. And in Florida, that's called a stand your ground motion. And so you're standing up saying, I have a right to protect my things, my house, my car, my golden doodle, whatever that might be. I have a right to protect it. But he didn't take the stand in this case, which is also a little bit bizarre to me. I wouldn't have suggested he did it, but he's a talented actor and he probably could have been persuasive.
Yeah. And then the second question you have to ask is, in the state of New York, does stand your ground the same as it is in the state of Florida? And I think we've talked about this before because of raids that happen in people's homes. And I don't think the laws are the same. We should do some research on that one. For sure.
Yep.
No, they're not. I'm licensed in New York, so I can say they're not. And Brian said the point that matters, which is that I completely forgot that Brian's right. If you're going to do self-defense, you have to take the stand. And that makes sense, because the other issue is he, as in Jonathan Majors, had proof of his injuries that she caused. He had scratches on his arms. He had bleeding from his nose. He had a photo of the picture of him sleeping on the pillow in the blood. Right. He even had photos of his blazer where she ripped the buttons off of the blazer, as well as the scratches down his arms. And I had initially thought that those were admitted into evidence and they were dismissed, but no, they can only be admitted if he goes to.
So let me ask you this. What about all his contracts and stuff? So basically, because he was found guilty and now he's going to sentencing, all in any brand now can exercise that moral clause if they don't want to be in the Jonathan Majors business anymore, especially after guilty and after sentencing. Is that correct, Attorney Ross?
I think so. I think that those contracts, just like the NFL contract we talked about yesterday for Rashee Rice, points out that you have morality clauses in them because they have to protect the entity. So those questions of whether a new movie, he had a big one coming out, Kane, an Avengers movie, all that's up in the air right now. And it doesn't look good. It feels horrible because he had such a promising career in that studio.
Right.
He better call Tyler Perry.
You said what?
Mr. Tyler. He better call Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I think Tyler Perry would. I think Tyler Perry would support him because Megan's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman.
I would too. And yes, she's beautiful, but even not that. But when I read the documents and when I recognized the fact that he was never found guilty of hurting her, he was found guilty of retrieving his phone and putting this drunk woman back into her car. And we have to remember the other fact was that she chased him down the street for multiple blocks and then stopped when she saw a group of people, invited those group of people to go to the nightclub with her after she realized he wouldn't come back. They all went to the nightclub together, and she used Jonathan Majors' credit card to buy these strangers she found in front of a CVS champagne and spend the night partying. So,
sounds like a smart chick to me. Anyway, all right, let's keep it moving. The Department of Justice sues the state of Utah's prison after they refuse to provide trans inmates with hormone therapy. Like I said, isn't prison supposed to rehabilitate? Why are taxpayers' dollars being used for SRS services? Now, besides that, because I don't want to be insensitive to trans individuals, But we're not seeing our regular prisoners getting any special treatment on their issues that they're having with their bodies. Tell me, what would be the grounds? Because it seems like to me, if the Department of Justice is suing, then this is a huge violation of some amendment or some right. Attorney Gredwine, do you want to take a stab at this one?
Sure, I'm gonna take a stab at it. And the logic I would use, if these were my clients, was if you are entitled to it under Medicare or Medicaid, then you should be entitled to it as an inmate, because all inmates meet that qualification. And my understanding is that Medicare and Medicaid recipients are entitled to those same drugs. That's what I would use.
Wow. So, Attorney Ross, help me understand this then. How can the Utah prisons deny it? Is it because they are a private entity? Because we know a lot of prisons now are under private ownership. Does that have anything to do with it?
It might, because a lot of times you see in the private prison system, they only address the lighter, easier cases, lighter, easier issues. The ones that are more difficult get either passed out or sent back to the state or federal system. But I think here it's a question of necessity. If you're in prison and you have a diabetes issue, you're going to get the medication you need, the insulin. You're even going to be able to eat kosher food, aren't you? Right? Yeah. You're going to be able to eat low sodium food. If you have to take cholesterol medication, they're going to get it for you. If you need a hearing aid, they're going to give you those things. But this person, according to the Department of Justice complaint, cut off their testicles. Why? Was this person having an infection? Sorry, Miss Redwine, but that's what it says. I'm not being gross. Sorry, y'all. Don't take my briefcases away. I'm only reading what was filed in the public record. They cut them off themselves. So to me, there's a few things there. Is there a mental health issue? Right. I don't know. But was it an infection? If there was something, that matter of fact, I think they'd be entitled to services. But if it's just you want to change your gender in prison, I defer back to Al Reynolds and say, you got to wait till you get out.
My whole thing in
pay
this
for it with your own money.
You know, the thing that concerned me the most is the Department of Justice has stepped into the chat and they are coming to your defense. Why would you ever go chop your testicles off? Now you're looking like a nut. Now you're looking like you have a mental health issue, which would be softening, right? It would reduce their argument. Right? In my head, you're now making this a mental health issue, which is what they say is the issue with transgender already. It's like you're backing up in the wrong direction and you hit somebody. I don't get it. And I don't understand why that this person cut their testicles off in order to speak to not being allowed their hormone medicine.
Probably because they wanted to get out of jail, if you ask me. I don't know what. It's a stretch. It's a stretch.
Or move to the other gender jail.
Correct.
I feel that you should be placed in the prison of your genitalia at the time that you've been incarcerated. And I feel that way.
It's deep.
That's deep.
Due to the fact that there have been if you look at the statistics, there is a disproportionate number of females who have been R-worded by men who said, hey, I'm transgender. Place me in the women's prison, including there have been cases where those men have impregnated women.
Wow.
So my point is, at the point when you're there, that's what you got. You know, when you get out, when you're free and you want to do what you want with your body, that's that. But I can understand that there are taxpayers who feel like this isn't where my tax money should go. And that's something we have to consider.
Let's also consider just one thing, Alba. I know you want to take this, but you're also in the state of Utah. It is a conservative place.
True.
You're not in California.
True.
You know, it's a place where you can't, some of your areas, you cannot buy beer or alcohol on Sunday. So this is going to be difficult for them to swallow.
So I want to go back to Attorney Redwine, because that's very interesting that you're proposing that when a person, regardless of what they identify
as,
you're saying we have to go back to where biologically, if you were born a man, then you should go to a man prison.
No. Let me clarify. Not even what you're born as, what your genitalia has. Here's why. there are people who make the affirmative choice to change
Switch.
their genitalia to switch. Yeah, to switch.
Right.
And so,
So
I feel like
you'll say they can go.
they can go to the women's prison. Everybody with a vagina over here. Everybody with a pee over there. It keeps everybody safe. I'm just saying. I don't understand another way to say it. I'm just saying.
Everybody over here. So
Vaginas
where
over
does
here
where does Caitlyn Jenner go to jail?
Right.
in the middle. She got to go in the middle. Now she got to go in the middle. No, but wait, Al, I got a theory for this. So
Okay.
you remember under the Americans with Disabilities Act, they made certain laws for people who are handicapped, right? And the laws basically said if you have so many patrons at your business, you have to have at least one handicap accessible restroom. I think, which was the number is 50. Like if your building can accommodate 50 people, at least one handicap. I think they should do something similar for transgender. If you have at least 50 people, or maybe use the stats, or maybe the number is 30, then you have to have at least a gender neutral bathroom. You can have a gender neutral jail. I don't know, whatever it is. But everybody's got a little mix up going on in the top and the bottom. You get to go here, and then nobody bothers you. But otherwise, the PP's over here, the vajiggle jaggles over there.
Why not just have a separate jail for transgender?
Oh Lord, you're going to jail.
Here's how we can get that easily because if you make it a private prison, because private prisons, there's going to be some tier 4 Caucasian who's like, oh, my granddaddy's got a government contract, and we'll get 10 to do it.
All right, okay.
Here.
I'm laughing. This chat is really interesting. Christian R says Caitlyn has a penis, so he needs to go to a male facility. No, I think Caitlyn went through the transition, right?
I don't know the details, but I believe so.
Bayla, let's look that up.
So.
You don't think so? For some reason, I thought Caitlyn had gone through the full
she aggravates me.
Okay.
Because she's had enough money to do all of the above. Because I'm going to tell you what, I got a priest at my old Catholic school who looks better in drag than her. One time for Halloween, he dressed up as a pregnant nun. And I'm just saying, it was prettier than her on our best day.
So let me ask this question, attorneys. When someone like this transgender person who cut their genitalia off, does that affect their sentence? Or what does it do? Did they get empathy? Do they get empathy because they're mistreated? How does that work?
They get moved to a medical ward, and they may be moved to a mental health portion of the medical ward, which I'm going to tell you, if you ever go to jail, find a way to get transferred to the mental health ward. It is the cleanest. There's no fighting. They have the best security. They have better food. Trust me, it's the best area. Get to the mental health.
How can we trust you? Tell us about your
legal beagles. I've been and visited all levels. The mental health ward is Shangri-La. It is the Ritz-Carlton.
We'll cover that after dark. We'll cover that after show.
All right. Speaking of mental illness, Bambi's back at the courthouse because little Scrappy just won't act right. The divorce is getting uglier and uglier, and it's over this right here. Bambi said that Scrappy has violated their divorce agreement by letting another woman post his kids. Attorney Redwine, you were teaching us about this, with Tiana Taylor and Iman, about the kids cannot see a woman in Iman's bed. Is this similar to the same law? What's the law here, and how is this possible?
So this is a law that is literally getting made as life happens because social media wasn't a thing. But I actually think this is a good law to say, Dad, you can post the kids. Mom, you can post the kids. It's no different than the law that says, hey, we can't have our kid on a reality show unless both parents consent, things like that. So it's interesting that she felt strong enough to go back to court. But I also want to note, it was two things that made her go back to court. It was this, and she felt that her child support should be amended because I believe it's 2 children, but it could be 3. And he's paying $4,850. And she feels that she should be entitled to more. So I just want to be clear. There are 2 issues. It's the posting and the money.
Ah, okay. We just are hearing about the posting side because that's the one that seems like the
Juicy.
yeah, that seems like the weirdest. Um, as a male attorney, Brian Ross, who has two daughters, what do you think about these type of laws that say that until they're married again, the daughters can't see Iman in bed with another woman? Or what do you think about these laws that say if a woman takes a picture with Scrappy and
I think that in the end, you're going to run into a situation where it's impossible to maintain. When you first get divorced, you separate, the two of you have these new separate lives. Eventually, one of you is going to get married. I mean, meet a man or a woman and date them for a while. Unless you're on, I got married 30-day marriage, it's going to take some time. There's going to be holding hands. There's going to be courtship. There's going to be all these things that occur until you say I do. And who knows how long that could be. I don't know how the judge splits the wise Solomon King baby on this one when it's unrealistic. So I can't go to church and hold my girlfriend's hand. I mean, I understand my kids are going to have social media. They're going to see these things. They're going to pop in. They're going to pop out. But my overall perspective is it's very difficult, if not impossible, to comply with that. So I think that the judge, when it goes back to court, is going to be looking for a substantial compliance effort, not a strict compliance effort. The two are different.
Ooh,
The
love
substantial
that.
compliance is I tried the best I could. I did everything I could to do this, but I'm in love with this new woman. I keep her at my house when my
I'm in
kids are
love with
gone
the
every other weekend.
stripper.
I can't help it if I want to go to TGIF Fridays and get 2-for-1 margaritas and the paparazzi jumps out and takes a picture of me with her. I didn't plan it. I didn't go to JCPenney's and take a photo. They showed up. So in the end, your overall goal is to be substantially compliant. So you go back before the judge and you plead your case. Say, look, judge, I did the best I could, but I'm a public figure. They follow me around wherever I go. They took my picture without my knowledge, and now she's taking me back to court. Guess what, judge? You know what I heard? I heard that she's telling my kids she's about to get a new daddy. What is that? How are they telling my kids I'm going to get a new daddy? So that's the real problem we have, judge, and that's my position. Substantial versus strict compliance is your lesson today.
okay.
Your Honor, Judge Reynolds, I think the real issue here is that one of our jury members has confirmed for the court this is 3 children that are getting $4,800. That means basically $5,000 for 3 children, and he's out here taking Erica on vacations to all-inclusive resorts. He's out here whining and dining. He's doing these. That just seems like a child support amount that for the level of lifestyle he has is too low. So I'm going to need, and specifically, this is what I love. Bambi says, I'm seeking an increase in child support because the children are now in private school and they were not before. If you don't educate them babies, you better put them in baby school. And I just want to be clear, if that's your situation, a lot of times, gentlemen, you have the ability to petition the court and say, you know what, I'm going to pay for my baby's school, but I'm going to write the check to the school. Bambi is reasonable. I have a feeling she'd be like, that's fine. Just get their school paid for. Because I just shouldn't have to be paying for 3 kids to go to school for $4,800 a month. When you have the ability to gallivant around the United States and international waters of Mexico, etc.
But Red Wine and I agree again on 99.9% of stuff.
But
however, okay, I got to stand up for the brothers.
That's
okay?
right.
She showed up in court. You brought your documents. I brought my documents. We spent $20,000 a piece on the lawyer. Took the judge. He read everything and he ordered the amount. I'm sorry, I'm good at making money. Don't get mad at me if I like Cozumel. It's nice there. What am I supposed to do? Stay inside the house? You can go to Cozumel. How about you can get a job? Okay? You can get a job too.
Let me tell you right now, he didn't show up with all his documents. I'm gonna tell you right now, he didn't show up with all the documents. He showed up with some documents, and then Bambi got tired of the bullshit. Because let me tell you, this is the legal tea. Lean in.
I fired her up out.
This is the legal tea. This is the legal tea. If you are dealing with a child support case, if you are the father or the mother, it doesn't matter. The one document you will never see, but that is the T, is called the IRS wage and income
That's
transcript.
correct.
The reason
That's
it's the most important is because the father or the mother, whoever, will say, oh, I haven't filed my taxes this year. I haven't filed them last year. I haven't filed them for a few years. But guess what? The IRS wage and income tax transcript is the only document that says what other people, no, it says what other people claim they paid you. You haven't even received it. So that's what's really good about it. And you can ask the court, you can pull that down and ask the court, say, hey, this is what other people paid them, Your Honor, do it based on this. Since this over here said he don't know what he made, period, poo.
All the baby daddies watching this, Miss Redwine is a brilliant lawyer, but do not go get the Lexus. Get the Toyota Camry. Do not go to Mexico. Go to Key West. Stay off the limelight. Maybe you go to Toledo, Ohio. Toledo, Ohio is a fantastic vacation place, isn't it?
Order in the court. Order in the court, everybody. Order in the court. I love the debate, though. I love the discussion. All right, algoriters and soulmates, everybody else who's watching. We have quite a few people here in the chat, but I only got 140 likes. Can you please do Attorney Symone Redwine and Attorney Brian Ross and myself a favor and hit that like button? Please hit that like button. If you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe and share button. And also jump on in this chat and talk to us. Let us know, because the asking questions is coming up soon. All right, let's go on over to Nicki Minaj. All right, attorneys, Nicki Minaj is having the year of her life. She is breaking all types of records, and she has solidified herself as not only the best female rapper in the entertainment game, but as one of the best rappers ever. However, her man is back in the news because he's updated his photo for his California sex offenders registry. Now, tell me, Attorney Symone Redwine, why is this so important, A? And B, what made him go back on probation? What did he do, or what violation did he make to put him back on probation so that he, has to update this sex registry?
First of all, that's a very handsome picture. I think he did a great job. He kind of edged up the mustache, the goatee. It has a little 5 o'clock shadow, so it looks like, hey, I wasn't ready for the mugshot, but I'm still handsome. So awesome, I guess, if that's your thing. But more importantly, the reason he got back on probation, it was truly a technicality. I want to be clear. He did not commit a new offense. So what happened was they were living together in New York City. And that's where he was registering. And then at some point, Nicki bought a property and bought a home in California. And then, the way the paparazzi and public information works, they realized his registration still reflected New York. Somebody ratted on her, and that is what happened. So that's why he never had to go back and serve time. He was given house arrest. But it's also why when Cardi B and her had an issue earlier this year around the Megan Thee Stallion thing, she said, go take your man to the park.
Wow.
If he's not allowed at parks, he'll go back to prison.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a low one. That's a real deep hit.
So let me ask you this. So is he allowed to travel with her? Because she's on tour.
She has her baby. Temporary travel is fine.
Okay, temporary travel is fine.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. He just can't be in certain, like, if it's too close to a school or anything where kids would be there. Her concerts are not an issue. Temporary travel and travel to her concerts, no issue.
So this is another question that I have. Is he allowed to pick up his daughter or son, right? Son. Is he allowed to pick up his son? Is he allowed to pick up his son from school?
Pick up your own kids. You can pick up your own kids.
Okay.
Fraction. You know what? I'm not sure. That's a good question.
You can probably pick up your own kids.
All right. Now, if he could pick up his kids,
your own kids, right? You just can't talk to nobody else's kids. Nobody else can spend the night. You can't have a sleepover. Don't put them in the Boy Scouts. Can't nobody come to your house, and he better not have a birthday.
Okay, that was my next question.
Can he
throw a birthday party and invite other little kids and be in attendance?
It would probably require.
Will have no friends. Papa Bear's not going to have friends unless Nicki buys them.
Oh,
I'm about to be in trouble.
You go. The barbs are gonna have your head.
I mean, no. I'm just talking legally. He should have all of the friends. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. So he could pick up his own kids, possibly, we think, but he can't have a birthday party for Papa Bear and his little underage friends. He can't be there. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Attorney Ross?
Mommy can be there, but Daddy can't be there. Daddy
he was convicted of attempted forcible rape. He was charged with rape, but struck a plea deal to a reduced charge of attempted forcible rape and spent 4 years in prison. The registration requirement follows him wherever he goes. The difference between him and other people who have registration requirements is that they have money. When you have resources and you buy a $20 million house in California, like Symone said, he can afford to walk around his property and disappear to the world. No, he cannot coach Little League football. No, he cannot he probably can't even get, honestly, he probably can't even get global entry from the airport to fly internationally. He probably can't get a TSA pre-check. All that's probably gone. None of that.
He's got to be in the line with the regular poor people.
Yeah, he does.
So he can't do pre-check?
No, he won't pass the background check.
I know this because I had to expunge my own daddy's record because he went to get pre-check and there was a little something going on. No, he cannot.
Can't get pre-check.
But to be clear, Papa Bear can have a birthday party at his own house. So watch, Nicki Minaj is about to have the most extravagant birthday parties for Papa Bear at her house.
Probably.
They would never be off the premises.
Okay.
All of those people will know. And if
but
they come
can they invite little kids?
As long as their parents are there.
Yeah, as long as because he's allowed to be at his house. The issue is what other destinations can he be at. And that's why a lot of us weren't allowed to spend the night at people's houses.
Right.
Good looking guy, though. Look at that bone structure. I see why you think
I want you to know that even though I am happily married, I've been in the gym working on my bone structure all week long.
What exercise are you doing?
I'm going to profile.
I can't do this.
Can you see it? It's right
Order
there.
in the court. Order in the court. I will not have my legal beagles flirting.
No, that's not happening. It's not about that.
We're being patently ridiculous. Yeah, we're liking the subject because we have to transition from like kids' birthday parties with weirdos.
All right, before we get to the questions, everybody, put some red wine emojis in the chat for Attorney Redwine. Put those briefcases in there for Brian, and also throw me a cup of facts emojis if you've enjoyed tonight's show, and if you've enjoyed the topics, and if you've learned anything. Let's put those wine glasses, let's put those briefcases, let's put those fax machines in the chat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is that time, algorithm, that we're going to start taking questions. Please put your questions in the chat so that we can have these two legal beagles knock them down and give you the answer you're looking for. All right, what we got, bailiff? All right, so 901 Cash G, the allegations weren't admissible because he had several charges against him, right? I don't know what that
I'm going to let Brian, do you understand that question?
Yeah, I don't. Who is that? What are we talking about? Who's the?
Oh, this is Jonathan Majors.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much for clarifying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but the
allegations weren't admissible because he had several charges against him. I'm not sure I understand what that question means.
I think I can help.
Yeah.
So what happened was, and I also believe this is going to be the grounds for his appeal. So I want to clarify. He asked the current motion was his attorneys asked the judge to basically revise their verdict. That never happens because that means that judge is going to be like, hey, I'm wrong. They never think they're wrong. You have a better chance of getting an appeal. On appeal, what he will argue is that this lower court judge should never have admitted the fact of the text message and the audio. So there were two things. There were text messages where the messages imply that he had hit and hurt Grace a year prior, or 8 months.
That's right.
Prior.
That they had That's right.
Correct. But
in Europe somewhere, right? It was in Europe somewhere.
That was in Europe. That was not this.
And the police were called.
And the police were called there, but no charges were ever pressed because the police looked into it and they were like, no. And let me tell you something. I used to live in London. When the white ass police officer said, this Negro over here didn't do anything wrong, he probably didn't do anything wrong. We got two drunks who like to fight each other and do stupid shit. So today, if he's going to jail, it's because he was messing with a snow bunny and didn't have good enough sense to leave her alone 8 months ago when she called the cops on him. I had a man call the cops on me one time, and after that, I never dealt with him again. He even one time he tried to return my Bible to me, and I said, "I'm not about to be. This is a setup. You about to show up in handcuffs for me."
She was liking that ping ping. All right, Demonte said, "Is her husband a registered sex offender for the rest of his life?" That's a good question, Demonte.
Not temporary.
The answer is yes. Once you're on that list, you're on that list. You cannot get off of it. And they do that for the protection of everyone, specifically children, right? Okay. Because once you get off the list, we've learned that these people have, unfortunately, they have a very high rate of recommitment. So once you're on that list, you're on that list.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Bailiff, any more questions?
That's the one I want to answer.
All right. So Casey Barnes says he's flown internationally. What are y'all talking about?
If I may, and Symone, please. I wrote this down. I was going to answer this for you, Casey. He can fly internationally, right? But there's a process that lets you get back into the country very quickly called global entry. You have to apply for it. You have to go to your airport and take an interview. You have to bring your social security card, your birth certificate. It's very extensive, not overnight. But if you have global entry and you're flying from the Bahamas back in Miami, everyone's waiting in line for 2 hours. And guess what you're doing? 2 minutes. Because he has this in his background, he can fly internationally, come and go, but he cannot get a global entry pass. He has to wait in line like everyone else.
Got it.
Yes. Also, it's much more stringent. Like Americans who have criminal records and go abroad, it's a lot easier for them to go where they want to go and come back. I once accidentally dated a British drug dealer. Flawless bone structure. It was amazing. Yeah. We met on a beach in Jamaica, and I went there, and it was the love of my life, and it was amazing. And then I was like, "When are you going to come visit me?" And he was like, "Well, I kind of can't." And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, I caught this case, etc., etc." So I say that to say, if you have an offense, so he sold like 50,000 pounds of like crack cocaine and heroin or something. And so he had issues coming back to America for 10 years, but anyone from America can go to other countries, especially those like the Bahamas, the Caribbean, no problem, especially on a private jet.
Correct.
He was on a private jet. They don't care about your private jets because they know your private jet in their smaller country is going to bring them so many resources and so much money that they're like, "Oh, I can look the other way." And it's Nicki Minaj.
Wow. All right, so we got a couple more questions here. So Demonde is asking, I think we answered it, but if someone want to take it, you can. Could Nicki's husband get permission from the court or his probation officer to have a party with other kids in attendance for his son?
Not sure about that one.
Let me take a stab.
That would be weird.
Okay.
Go for it.
I think that he would have it. All that depends on what's called the final disposition, and it varies from state to state. In Florida, it's called a Jimmy Rice law. I don't know what it's called in New York, but he probably would have to disclose to his probation officer if he was on probation that he was having a party at his house. Why? Because you can't consume alcohol or drugs while you're on probation. Assuming he's
that's right. Okay.
And the probation officer can show up and see a bunch of little kids jumping around in a bounce house and violate his technicality and put him back in jail. So he probably have to disclose it. And then his lawyer could ask for pass and maybe things would get done. So it depends on the final court disposition. I'll look it up and see if I can find anything later.
Okay, final court disposition.
I want to see who the fuck is going to let their kid go to a bouncy house at their man's house. And when I see you, give me your photo. I can't fight, but I know other people who can. And I think you might need to be knocked
So
around.
you think that mothers or parents or fathers should not allow their young babies to go to Nicki Minaj's house?
Correction. No, I think they shouldn't allow their children to go to a sex offender's house. I think that you should sex offender should be no. You shouldn't be like, oh, let me see what they did. Let me see if I believe the court. Let me see if I believe the jury. Girl, I will fight you, and I can't even fight.
All right, Carolyn Watts says, so can a sex offender go to a family reunion?
I would say yes. Again,
well, I have an Uncle Leonard. Oh, tell your story first.
No, please go ahead.
So I have an Uncle Leonard. He's dead now, which is good because my daddy would have killed him. And he used to come, but that was why I wasn't allowed to go, because he was like that uncle where it's like, oh, nobody hug Uncle Leonard. And I never went to a family reunion until I was like 22 years old. Like I had finished law school, and I went, and I was like, one of my cousins was, they're like, oh, you don't hug Uncle Leonard, your dad will get mad. So I was like, hey, Dad, what's the deal with Uncle Leonard? Because he had a pompadour, he had a perm and everything. And there were some strange things about him. He was like a career criminal. And my dad was like, Uncle Leonard's there? I'll beat that beat. So I don't think he was supposed to be there. He is definitely the not okay person. So the answer is no.
Okay. All right. So Thimes, I think that's how you say his name. Not sure. 308 says, what happens when entertainers break the moral clauses in their work contracts?
Brian?
You have a contract that says you will not do anything that is considered immoral. Once you break that, whether intentionally or unintentionally, the studio who signs it or the record label has the right to not only get out of the contract, but seek damages against you for any future losses they may have sustained. These parts of the contracts are very, very stringent. Because why? They know you're going to be cast into the limelight. They know you're going to be some 20-year-old kid who just got $100 million. They know that women are going to throw themselves at you at the Grammy Awards after party. So they want you thinking about their interest at all times. So it gives them a way out of the contract if you do, in fact, break it.
Okay, sounds good to me. Xavier Bill says, can the video of Diddy's 50th birthday party released by Stevie J be used in court to implicate others?
Brian?
The answer is yes.
Wow.
That video could be shown. Again, remember what Al, and we've been saying on Al's show for the last week, too many witnesses. Now, all those witnesses will have their own high-powered Symone Redwine lawyers to protect them from having to go to a deposition. And each hearing would be individual, and the judge would say yes or no. But the video could start the conversation. That needs to be deleted and taken down immediately.
Okay, okay. This is a really good question. So Christian R said, can J-Lo be called in to testify? And so what I'm thinking this person is asking is when that shooting went down in the club, remember? And J-Lo and Diddy rushed out of the club. Can she be called in to testify, Symone?
I like to say can and will, but let me be clear. We talked about it before, and I talked about the fact the statute of limitations had passed for that offense, and it has. That was 20 years ago.
Okay.
However, here's how that and Cassie's offense and any other people who have been violated by him, including Kid Cudi, whose car was blown up, and then Wale, who was supposed to be allegedly dangled over the fence. The way they can get justice is this. If Diddy is found guilty, after the guilt or innocence stage is sentencing. So they find you guilty first, and then they have a second hearing that allows everybody who feels like he did something to me that the courts did not appropriately punish him for. I want to let you know about it. And then the judge can take that into consideration and punish him. And that is how I believe he will go up underneath the jail. Brian, what do you think?
I couldn't have said it better. I 100% agree with you. Actually, I wish I would have thought of it first. That's amazing. And he could actually wind up in that same capacity. The problem. So,
all right, this is the last question for the evening, ladies. Algorators. It's from Xavier Bill, who has all these great questions. Is Carisha facing real charges for flying up from Miami to New York with the pink Coco to Diddy, or could she give up info to get out of it?
Brian, what you think?
Yeah. If you fly with pink Coco, green grass, any of those exotic colors, you could be subject to a federal detention status. So that's number one. Could she snitch and get what's called an NK1 reduction? Yes, she could. That is, I guess, to be continued.
How can I find out if she does that?
Yeah.
The NK1? Is that after the fact or?
They usually make a proffer. Sometimes it's a closed door proffer, so they're in there talking, or they have an open door proffer where we're all like lawyers like me and you are not there on our business. We sit down and watch, and the judge doesn't kick us out. So it just depends on whatever the judge and the prosecutor work out.
All right, algoriters and soulmates, that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching the Court of Public Opinion, hosted and judged by me, Al Reynolds. Please be sure to put those fax emojis in the chat. Please be sure to put those red wine and briefcase emojis in the chat. And don't forget to join us tomorrow on the replay. And don't forget to leave comments so that we can make sure that you are engaged, not only learning, but understanding the law so that you can use it in your own life. All right, everybody, have a good night. And I'll see you tomorrow night. Don't forget, tomorrow night is ladies' night. And let's see who those two attorneys will be hanging out with me on Friday. Have a good night, algoriters and soulmates. See you tomorrow.
See you later.